Yep. Hare Krishna. Welcome to the daily morning Srimad Bhagavatam class in Sri Radha Kalachandjidam. If anybody is not able to sit down, you're welcome to sit on the tables and chairs here. Use the tables and chairs here. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Oh, the bookmark is far wide. Okay, we're continuing with our reading of Srimad Bhagavatam. This is Canto 3. We're on chapter 16 today. We'll start from text 13. Text chapter 16. Thinking I prepared for a different verse. There is a different verse. Just picked the wrong page. Like moment of anxiety. Yeah. So this is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 16, titled Jaya and Vijaya, Cursed by the Sages. We are on text 13 today. But before that, we'll do the... Do you want to get that thing up, Prabhu? So please repeat. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. You can say the prayers together. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. Can we read the translation? Respectful obeisances unto Godhead Narayana and to Srila Vyasadeva. नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी. Completely destroyed. Yes, fact. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. My spiritual master, open my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay, this is text. So we're going to do from text 13 all the way till text 25 today. Our verse for focus today is text 25. So we'll start reading the translations from text 13 and then we'll go to text 25, read the Sanskrit. And so does anybody remember what has happened so far? You want to take the mic, please? We were able to hear you before. Oh. Yeah, we got
Hare Krishna.
fourth time is a charm.
So the four Kumaras had gone through 6 gates in Vaikuntha and were stopped by Jai and Vijay at the 7th gate, and the four Kumaras became very upset, and Lord Vishnu heard the commotion and came out and spoke very sweet words about how he is the servant of his devotees and glorified service to his devotees. And I think that's where we left off. I don't remember what happened after that.
You wanna? You're saying something?
The Lord comes out and basically like apologizes for the misdeeds of Jai and Vijay, and he says that you've cursed them. This is okay. They deserve it, and gives them an ultimatum of have we read that part yet? Where he gives them no, we haven't read that part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just no. Oh my gosh! I know she said it, but I don't know if we read it.
Yeah, so this is basically what happened. We've recapped it. So the four Kumaras are finally at the gates of Vaikuntha, the last gate, and they were easily able to get through all the. Thank you, the 6 gates of Vaikuntha, and on the 7th gate they were stopped by Jaya and Vijaya, who were the doorkeepers of the 7th gate. And they really didn't like it. They got so angry because they were so eager to see Krishna or Mahavishnu, Lord Vishnu, that them being stopped created so much anger and frustration in them. And then they basically said, Jai and Vijay, you are in Vaikuntha. Vaikuntha is a place of non-duality. You're seeing duality in people. You're seeing people as friends and enemies. And this is not good. So you're not fit to be here in Vaikuntha, and curse them. And then immediately when Lord Vishnu came to know about this, Jai and Vijay are very dear servants of him, right? He came and apologized on their behalf. This is Krishna taking responsibility for those who are under him and saying, ultimately the responsibility lies on me because they're my servants and I'm very sorry for what happened. And beautiful, beautiful glorification of the Brahmanas and in fact the 4 Kumaras. That's what was till text 12, and now we're going to continue and see what happened after Lord Vishnu glorified the 4 Kumaras. This is text 13. Can somebody start with the translation, please? No, 1-3 and all the way through 25. That's the...
Brahma continued, even though the sages had been bitten by the serpent of anger, their souls were not satiated with hearing. Satiated with hearing the Lord's lovely and illuminating speech, which was like a series of Vedic hymns.
The Lord's excellent speech was difficult to comprehend because of its momentous import and its most profound significance. The sages heard it with wide open ears and pondered it as well. But although hearing, they could not understand what he intended to do.
So, you heard the verses yesterday, right? What Vishnu spoke. Were you able to understand what he was trying to say to the 4 Kumaras? Was he chastising them? Was he saying you're perfectly right in what you did? Was there any clarity? Yes, Anna?
The Lord was saying, he was apologizing. He was saying, I'm so sorry for this offense. This offense that my servants have done is an offense from me.
Yeah.
And he was saying as well, that they deserve this curse and this punishment, but please don't keep them away for too long.
Yeah. The Acharyas also say there is one verse where he basically says, you can lop off my 2 arms. They say that practically Lord Vishnu was not very happy that the Kumaras had cursed his devotees. And he was basically equating these two doorkeepers to his two arms, in effect saying that you've actually cut off my two arms by cursing them. They're not going to be with me. They're my most dear devotees, and yet you've cursed them. So in a way he was really glorifying the Brahmanas and the Kumaras. But at the same time, Mahavishnu was not very happy with what had happened. So this was very difficult to understand, even for the four Kumaras, who were considered the most learned in all the planetary systems. Right? They were the first people to have been born from Lord Brahma, and were very, very knowledgeable. In fact, they said we won't grow over 5 years. Right? They had these mystic powers where they could do that. And still they were very confused by what Krishna was saying. And this is one of the qualities of Krishna, right? Krishna has 64 prominent qualities that are described. And one of it is that he's an amazing linguist. This is one of Krishna's qualities. And when Krishna really wants to go at it, very difficult for people to understand what he is actually saying. And therefore, what this says also is that the requirement for the parampara, or the disciplic succession itself, is that by ourselves it's very, very difficult to understand what Krishna is saying. Srimad Bhagavatam is considered one of the most, or the topmost of all Sanskrit literature. So when somebody studies Sanskrit, they usually in a traditional school study Sanskrit for about 12 years to master Sanskrit. And at the end of 12th year, probably they'll start commenting on the Gita or translating. The Ramayana they will start in their first year. They teach a bit of, and this poem is so simple, the language is so simple. We've discussed this before. So if any word has to get into a dictionary, do you know how it gets into a dictionary? Say, no, any dictionary. Say, I just pick a word. He says, bitten is one word, right? We know what bitten means. How do we know? We know it from the dictionary, right? To bite, and then there is a meaning for it. How does it get in?
Isn't there a committee that comes together every year to look over?
What is the basis of them looking? What are they looking at when they are adding?
Whether it's being used in the culture.
Correct. When so many people are trying to use the same word in a particular context, then they say, okay, this is what all of us have agreed upon that this word means, right? Then it gets added into a dictionary. That's basically, it's a simple explanation of how it gets added, but the general principle is when all of us agree that this is what this word means, then it gets added into a dictionary. So when you try to find meanings of words in Srimad Bhagavatam in a Sanskrit dictionary, it points to the same words or the same word in Bhagavatam. That's probably the only usage of that word. So that's the quality of language and poetry and sophistication that's used in Srimad Bhagavatam. Right? So it's that's what we're reading. And when we try to understand that on our own, without the help of a parampara or spiritual master, because most of the meanings we get from the commentaries of the acharyas of Srimad Bhagavatam, because the dictionary in itself doesn't have the meaning for it. So this emphasizes the need for going through parampara. Yes, bro.
I was just thinking as you were saying that it makes so much sense that there would be words that Krishna would speak that we would see nowhere else. Yeah. It just makes sense that Krishna would have words that we've never heard before.
It's very complicated, because even if you take just the literary aspect of Srimad Bhagavatam, you can speak about it for days. That's how sophisticated the poetry is, the number of meters that are used in Srimad Bhagavatam. It's really complex, right? Even the small meters, like we say Sarva Dharman Parityacha, which is basically the most basic meter. It's called the Anushtup, which is the shloka meter that's used in most. Even those meters in Srimad Bhagavatam are difficult to say. Have you experienced that before? It's a simple meter, so it's a small words, but the words that are there in that in that poetry are so difficult. This is the sophistication of Srimad Bhagavatam. So anyway, I was thinking about this and at least correlating it to, by our own, it's really difficult. What the tiny brains that we have, what can we understand what Krishna says? So it's very necessary on a basic logical perspective that you need to go and learn it from a proper spiritual master, right? Of course, there are other reasons for it. Okay, let's continue. Text 15.
The 4 Brahmana sages were nevertheless extremely delighted to behold him, and they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. They then spoke as follows to the Lord. who had revealed the multi-glories of the Supreme Personality through his internal potency, Yoga Maya.
Yeah. This is another amazing thing also, that although the Kumaras had really no proper understanding, it still had an effect on them. Right? It's not that just because they couldn't understand, Krishna's speech didn't have an effect on them. It says, previous verse said they couldn't really understand what he was saying, but still they experienced a thrill throughout their bodies. And this is the Shabda Brahman, right? The names of Krishna, the forms of Krishna, the pastimes of Krishna, although initially we might not completely understand them, it still has a potent effect on us because it's transcendental in nature. That is why this process works, right? Although when we're doing it for the first time or the second time or the fifth time, we might not completely understand it, but still there is a gradual purification that's happening because of the potency of these the words, names, pastimes of Krishna. Okay, text 16.
The sages said, O Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are unable to know what you intend for us to do, for even though you are the supreme ruler of all, you speak in our favor as if we had done something good for you.
They come to the realization, right? They really didn't do any good for him. In fact, they took away his two most beloved servants. And still they're confused, like you're speaking as if we've done something amazing for you. Please tell us what to do. Okay, text 17.
O Lord, you are the supreme director of the Brahmanical culture. Your considering the Brahmans to be in the highest position is your example for teaching others. Actually, you are the supreme worshipable deities, not only for the gods but for the Brahmans also.
Yeah. Okay.
You are the source of all of the eternal occupation of all living beings, and by your multi-manifestations of personalities of Godhead, you have always protected religion. You are the supreme objective of religious principles, and in our opinion, you are inexhaustible and unchangeable eternally.
Okay. Text 19.
Mystics and transcendentalists, by the mercy of the Lord, cross beyond nations by seizing all material desires. It is not possible, therefore, that the Supreme Lord can be favored by others.
Yeah, do you see a theme in these three prayers or reply? And we're going to see this theme continue in the next few verses also. Anything that you can catch based on the context? So, in the context of what's happening, Lord Vishnu glorified them so much. But they realized that they're not really worthy of such glorification, because Krishna is ultimately the Supreme. They've coming to this realization, right? That, oh Krishna, you've said so many things about us, but ultimately, without you, nothing is going to happen. Right? You're the source of everything. Without your mercy, there can be no perfection. This is basically the realizations of the four Kumaras, and they're going to continue in text 20 also in the same theme. Text 20.
The goddess of fortune, Lakshmi, the dust of whose feet is worn on the head by others, waits upon you, as appointed, for she is anxious to secure a place in the abode of the king of bees, who hovers on the fresh wreath of tulsi leaves offered at your feet by some blessed devotee.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? We've read a verse corresponding to the theme that we're reading in this text before. What happened when Lord Vishnu came in the presence of the four Kumaras? Yes. Can somebody pass the mic there?
He mentioned when he was I guess you can call it kind of chastising the gatekeepers. He was mentioning that along with being the servant of his devotees, he doesn't have any attachment, and because he doesn't have attachment, and because he's such a servant to the devotees, even all the goddesses of fortune and Lakshmi are anxious to be, attached to him,
Yes.
and it's simply because he is a servant to his devotees.
Yes. Very nice point. And even before this happens, right, when Lord Vishnu is just coming, he's just got to know that his servants have been cursed. There is a beautiful description of what happens to the Kumaras as soon as he comes in their presence. Because of? Can you? I'm sorry, we're making you go around.
As we know that Kumaraj are impersonalist by birth. So when they saw Lord Vishnu, and when they smell the fragrance of the tulsi leaf lying on the toe of Lord Vishnu, so there is the transformation happened from what they have conception of the Lord as a Brahman.
Yes.
So now they realize as a Bhagwan in the the personal form by seeing that.
Yes.
So by just not by seeing, even by just smelling the fragrance of the tulsi, they got transformed.
Yes, it's amazing that the fragrance of the Lord itself is something incredible. But the Bhagavatam says when the fragrance of the Lord mixes with the fragrance of tulsi, it's something else. It brings about an incredible transformation, and therefore the Lord always has tulsi at his lotus feet. And Lakshmi Devi is trying to get to that position, although she is always there in the heart. She is looking forward to get to that position of Tulsi, where she's always at the lotus feet of the Lord. This is the glory of Tulsi Maharani. And you see how Prabhupada included everything in our daily program, right? This is, without the mercy of Tulsi Maharani, it's very, very hard, Vrinda Devi, to enter into the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. And every morning this is what we're praying during the Tulsi Puja, right? This is such an exalted position that even Lord Lakshmi Devi, the goddess of fortune herself, behind whom everybody is taking the dust, right? Whose lotus feet, from dust of whom's lotus feet everybody is running after, is looking after the position of Tulsi Devi, who's always at the lotus feet of the Lord. It's amazing, isn't it? Okay, text 21.
O Lord, you are exceedingly attached to the activities of your pure devotees, yet you are never attached to the goddess of fortune who constantly engage in your transcendental loving service. How can you be purified therefore by the dust of the path traversed by the Brahmanas, and how can you be glorified or made fortunate by the mark of Srivasa on your chest?
Yeah, it is said that when we wear ornaments and jewelry, right, what happens? We become more beautiful. But in the case of Krishna, it's the other way around. The ornaments become more beautiful because they are decorating Krishna's body. That like this verse is. Says Krishna has this mark of Srivatsa. It's very beautiful, but it's actually the glory of Srivatsa that it's there on the chest of Lord Vishnu, right? So this is Krishna that we are. It's amazing. Okay, text 22.
O Lord, you are the personification of all religion. Therefore, you manifest yourself in 3 millenniums, and thus you protect this universe, which consists of animate and inanimate beings. By your grace, which is of pure goodness and is the bestower of all blessings, kindly drive away the elements of Rajas and Tamas for the sake of the demigods and twice born.
Yeah. So, when Prabhupada translates this word millennium, right, it says 3 millenniums. You know which word he's translating as millennium? We've seen this throughout this canto. Even in the second canto, we've seen this, I think. Yeah, he basically translates the word yuga as millenniums. And Krishna here is described as 3 yuga, or one who manifests in 3 millenniums. How many yugas do we have? But does Krishna is called only as 3 yuga. Does anybody know why? That somebody who manifests only in 3 millenniums? You should have the mic.
Hare Krishna. So because when Krishna descends, so there is the flip of the Treta Yuga and Dwapara Yuga. So earlier from Satya Yuga, then Dwapara Yuga, then Treta Yuga, then Kali Yuga. But when Krishna comes, so that there will be change on that. So means, Satya Yuga, then Treta Yuga, then Dwapara Yuga, then Kali Yuga. So
no, but that's not the question. The question is, he still appears in all those 3 millenniums, although they flip, right? But there is a 4th millennium, Kali Yuga. Yes, Gokulananda Prabhu. Yeah. Krishna does appear in the 4th millennium, Kali Yuga, right? What is Krishna's incarnation in the Kali Yuga? As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is called a Channa avatar, or a hidden incarnation. Krishna doesn't really explicitly come out, as we would see, as the boar incarnation, where it's very obvious, or where it's Krishna, where it's very obvious, or where it's Lord Ramachandra, or Lord Nrsingadev, you know. But Krishna incarnates in the Kali Yuga also, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, to bestow mercy on all of us in the Kali Yuga. So therefore Krishna is called Tri Yuga, because the 4th Yuga is Channa avatar. Even you see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when somebody is glorifying Mahaprabhu as a supreme personality of Godhead, what would Mahaprabhu do? Yeah, he would close his ears and say, Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. I really don't want to hear about it. You know, like, I'm the servant of Krishna. That was Mahaprabhu's mood. He came so that he could teach us how to be the topmost devotee of the Lord. Who else but the Lord can do it? We've seen this. He's the best of everything. He can only teach us how to be his best devotee also. You know? So that's Mahaprabhu's incarnation. And in the prayer, it's very clear that, you know, which quality of the 3 modes is associated with anger? Yeah, passion, and ultimately anger results in ignorance, right? So we see that, please wipe us off of mode of ignorance and mode of goodness, mode of passion, they say in the prayers, because they realize that it was not appropriate for them to get angry. Okay, text 23.
O Lord, you are the protector of the highest of the twice born. If you do not protect them by offering worship and mild words, then certainly the auspicious path of worship will be rejected by the people in general, who act on the strength and authority of your Lordship.
Does anybody remember a similar verse in the Gita? Yeah, he basically also, I was thinking, yad yad yachariti shreshas saddad evetaro jana, right? That common men follow what a great man does. And Krishna says, if I don't perform my duty, the world is put into ruination, right? So therefore Krishna is very, very careful about following the principles. And therefore the sages are glorifying, if you don't glorify the Brahmanas, then nobody will do it. And therefore you're setting the example for the world, right? Okay, text 24, we're almost there for our focus verse for today.
Dear Lord, you never want the auspicious path to be destroyed, for you are the reservoir of the all goodness. Just the benefit people in general. You destroy the evil element by your mighty potency. You are the proprietor of the 3 creations and the maintainer of the entire universe. Therefore, your potency is not reduced by your submissive behavior. Rather, by submission, you exhibit your transcendental pastime.
Yeah, I want to speak about this in conjunction with the next verse. So let's do text 25. So we'll do that Sanskrit for this verse. Yam, okay, you have it? Please repeat. Yam vanayor dhamam adhisha bhavan vidhatte. Vrittim nuva tadanuman mahi nirvyalikam. Ashma suvaya uchito dhriyatham sadhando. enangasau vayam anukshmahi kilbishena ayungshmahi yam vayanordhamamadhisha bhavan vidhatte vrittim nuva tadanumanmahi nirvalikam ashmasu vaya uchito dhriyatam sadhando enangasau vayam anukshmahi kilbishena ayungshmahi. Somebody wants to chant? Bhavan vidhatte vrittim nuva tadanumanmahi nirvalikam asmasu vaya uchito dhriyatam sadhando enagaso vayamayukshmahi kilbishena. Mataji's, somebody? No? Okay. We'll do the word for word for the lack of time that we have. Okay. Please repeat. Yam, which, va, or, anayo, of both of them, dhamam, punishment, adhisha, O Lord, bhavan, your lordship, vidatte, awards, vrittim, better existence, nu, certainly, va, or, tat, that, anumanmahi, we accept, nirvyalikam, without duplicity, ashmasu, to us, va, or, yaha, whichever, uchitha, is proper, dhriyatam, may be awarded, saha, that, dhandaha, punishment, ye, who, anagasau, sinless, vayam, we, ayungshmahi, allotted, kilbishena, with a curse. Translation. O Lord, whatever punishment you wish to award to these two innocent persons, or also to us, we shall accept without duplicity. We understand that we have cursed two faultless persons. Can somebody read the purport? Can you see it?
Yeah. The sages, the four Kumaras, now reject their cursing of two doorkeepers, Jaya and Vijaya, because they are now conscious that persons who engage in the service of Lord cannot be at the fault of any stage. It is said that anyone who has implicit faith in the service of the Lord, or who actually engages a transcendental loving service, has all the good qualities of demigods. Therefore, a devotee cannot be at the fault if sometimes it is found that he is in error by accident or by some temporary arrangements that should not be taken very seriously. The cursing of Jaya and Vijaya is here repented. Now the Kumaras are thinking in terms of their position in the modes of passion, ignorance, and they are prepared to accept any kind of punishment from the Lord. In general, when dealing with devotees, we should not try to find faults in Bhagavad Gita. Also, it is confirmed that the devotee who faithfully serves the Supreme Lord, even if found to commit a gross mistake, should be considered a sadhu or saintly person. Due to former habits, he may commit some wrong, but because he is engaged in the service of the Lord, the wrong should not be taken very seriously.
Yeah. So did the Kumaras commit any faults? Yeah. Yeah. But Prabhupada just said you should not find fault in devotees. Errors are not faults. So this, yes, Jose.
A long time ago, I was like trying to figure it out what was an offense, and I was asking a lot of people, and one of those people told me, also the one who gets offended is making an offense.
Yeah, that's very true. So I was saying there are two aspects of it, right? When the Kumaras apparently did something that was not proper, you see their reaction and also the reaction of Krishna on how he reacts in this entire episode, which culminates in this verse, right? So the Kumaras realize that they've made a mistake and are very sincere in approaching Krishna and saying, we're very sorry for what we've committed. We should not have cursed your doorkeepers, and we'll accept anything that you ask us to do without any duplicity. I'm not just saying this for the sake of saying, oh, I'm very sorry. It was not just by words. They were really meaning what they were saying, right? And yet, you see what Krishna's reaction was before? Although they apparently committed something that was not proper, how did Krishna react? Yeah, he was glorifying them, right? He was not really getting angry at them. In fact, he made them realize just by his incredible behavior that they made the mistake. He never explicitly said anything to the fact that, oh, what you did was wrong. Just by his own personal behavior, the Kumaras understood that what they had committed was something improper. So from our side at least, that's how I see Prabhupada's purport, is when somebody else commits a mistake, how should we see that mistake, right? And Prabhupada is quoting this very famous verse from the Gita, right? Does anybody know the verse that Prabhupada is... he's saying, Apichet suduracharo bhajate ma mananyabhak sadhureva samantavya samyak vivasito isaha. Krishna is saying something incredibly radical in that verse in the Gita that Prabhupada is quoting. He says, Apichet suduracharo. Durachar means something that's not great, any activity that's not good. Suduracharo means something that's very abominable, something that you do that's very, very abominable. He says, Apichet suduracharo bhajate mam ananyabhak. For somebody who has committed abominable activities, but he's still worshipping me, he has unalloyed attachment to me, how should you consider such a person? Krishna says, sadhureva samantavya. He says you should consider him a saint. How radical is this, that Krishna is saying this? Sadhureva samantavya samyak vyavasito hisa. You should see that person from that perspective. So from Prabhupada's purport, he gives us our point of view of how we should see people, even though they might commit abominable activities. From our side, we have, until we are given a position of authority, our perspective on such people should be still respect. In the Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says how we should deal with three kinds of devotees. There are three levels of devotees, right? Do you know what those three levels are? Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama. One who is a neophyte devotee, somebody who is in the middle stage and who is the topmost devotee, right? And Rupa Goswami says, Krishneti yasya giritam manasadhriyeta dikshasti chet pranatibhisya bhajantamisha shushrushaya bachana vignam ananyamanya nindadi shunyam hridamipshita sangalabdya. Right? That for a neophyte devotee, how should we respect them? Respect us in the mind. For a devotee in the middle stage, for a madhyamadhikari, pay obeisances, but the crouched obeisances. But for a uttamadhikari, you pay dandavats and try to serve them as much as possible. But in all these three cases, is there any question of not respecting them? No. It's just the way we respect them is different. There is no question of not respecting anybody. Right? Rupa Goswami doesn't say, oh, you're a neophyte devotee, you don't really deserve respect. That's not what the case is. In fact, Prabhupada picks 11 to 47, I think. This the description of the qualities of the three kinds of devotees, the Uttamadhikari, the Madhyamadhikari, and the Kanishtadhikari. And the commentaries for that verse are practically given by all the acharyas. Vishwanath Chakravarti has his commentary, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has his commentary, Madhvacharya has his commentary, Jiva Goswami has his commentary for that verse. And practically they say, Jiva Goswami says, the Kanishtadhikaris are practically useless for preaching purposes. Why? Do you know why? Can you, the mic?
All they can really see is themselves, like how things work from their point of view.
Yeah,
they can't see others' point of view. They can't see where other people are at. They can't determine how to, what kind of philosophy or how high or how low. They really just are like, hey, I just need to make the next step.
Therefore, what happens as a result of them being in that attitude? The core point is they don't respect anybody. This is the position of the Kanishtadhikaris. They think it's me and Krishna. I'm such an amazing person that it's just me and Krishna. Everybody else is, you've heard this pure devotee syndrome. when you're new into Krishna consciousness, you think, what is everybody else doing? Like, why are not everybody else not taking up Krishna consciousness? What are they doing with their lives, right? There is this disrespect that happens. For even the devotees, leave alone others. That's what Jiva Goswami says. They can't even respect the devotees, so how can they respect anybody else? And therefore, how can they even approach anybody else for preaching purposes? Therefore, Prabhupada says in the Nectar of Instruction that we should quickly come out of the platform of Kanishtadhikari to the platform of Madhyamadhikari in that verse, right? Holier than thou. Yeah, this is it. And their Shraddha, the faith is also very flimsy in so many things. But this is Jiva Goswami's principal point that he's making in his commentary. The other, it's really nice. I think 11 to 47, the commentaries. So anyway, so from our perspective at least, when people are doing abominable activities, but if they stick to performing bhakti, this is the point that Krishna is mentioning. He's not giving a free license, right? Apichet sudhacharo bhajate mam ananya bhak. Okay, you've committed abominable activities, but still, you're still worshipping me in an unalloyed fashion. Then you're considered a sadhu. And Prabhupada's purport to 930 is incredible. He says we have two kinds of duties. One is a conditional duty, and the other is a constitutional duty, right? Our constitutional duty is that all of us are servants of Krishna. And all of us have to serve Krishna. That is our duty, right? But we also have a conditional duty. We all have taken bodies. We are all in certain circumstances, and therefore we have to work from that position. And Prabhupada says most of the time, for a devotee, the conditional actions and the constitutional actions don't really conflict. But there are certain circumstances where they conflict against each other. And this conflict is because of your conditioning. We all have certain conditioning that we come to this world with, and we're trying to get rid of those conditioning by performing devotional service, but sometimes they just overpower us. We're trying hard, but these are called accidentally. We get in conflict with our constitutional duty. In that case, when things are accidental, then Krishna forgives. It's not a big deal. Right? We are repentant like the Kumaras and say that, this is from the perspective of us when we are committing the faults, right? We saw the perspective of how we should see people who are committing the faults. But for the person who is committing the fault itself, there is this example where we are clearly repentant about what we have done and go and ask for forgiveness. It's not that just because the other person is not really coming and asking us or not pointing to us what we have done, we just take it to our advantage and do whatever we want to do. We see both the aspects, right? This is how a community of devotees can actually coexist and even flourish. That the person who's committing the fault also recognizes and is repentant for what he has done. And from that perspective, then you can actually progress. When we are not repentant about what you've done and continue to do the things that are not really proper, then there are always going to be these conflicts that are going to happen, right? This is Vaishnav culture. We see this again and again in Chaitanya Charitamrita. When Mahaprabhu says, Mukunda can never see me, right? What is the reaction of all the devotees? They're not so happy. they're going and pleading to Mahaprabhu and saying, please Mahaprabhu, you have to take him. No? Although clearly Mukunda Datta was associating with Mayavadis and Mahaprabhu didn't really like it. Some fault on his part. But what are the devotees seeing? The devotees not really pointing to the fault. And Mukunda also is repentant about it and goes to Mahaprabhu and says, sorry Mahaprabhu. And he gets very happy that after 1,000,000 lifetimes he will become his devotee. No? So these are some of the thoughts I was having, that this entire section is very beautiful. We can speak a lot more about this topic. But the two aspects of when we commit a fault, from our side and from this perspective, I was seeing from the perspective of the society of devotees, how we can see from both the perspectives in the example of Krishna and the Kumaras. Do we have any questions or comments? Yes, Gokulananda. Oh, you want to say something? Then we can.
Yeah, I have a question. My question is that we learn that the spiritual master should be abandoned if they've perform abominable acts and have lost discrimination.
Yeah.
So how do we understand that compared to understanding what we just read and the verse in the Gita that we should see people still as saintly?
Abandoned in the sense that when the spiritual master is not in the proper position of guiding, then you're not taking guidance from the spiritual master. But the question of respect is not taken out of question at all. You're still respecting the person for what he has done for you, but it's just that he is not in a position to guide you, so we're humbly seeking shelter from somewhere else. That's how I understand it. It's not that just because we're abandoning, we're thinking all kinds of things about the spiritual master.
So then we can understand that there's even a level above saintly. Spiritual master is even above saintly. Because if this happens, we still see people as saintly.
Yeah.
But spiritual master even has to be above that, because even if they do these abominable acts, we can still see them saintly, but they're not in the position of spiritual master?
Yeah, this is not just the spiritual master, this is for everybody. All the devotees are expected to have saintly qualities. And among those, one who take up the position of spiritual master is dependent on them. But I don't see any difference. All of us are expected to have unalloyed devotional service to Krishna, right? And when we are doing our devotional service, because of our conditioning, if there are accidental fall downs, if there are abominable activities, and if they are still continuing bhakti, then we see them as saintly people. But we don't have to really associate with them. Krishneti yasya giritam manasadriyeta, and say, I'm not at a position where I can intimately associate with you and still be unaffected, so I'll respect you in my mind. Does it make sense?
I'm hearing you, but I'm a little confused in the sense of we can still respect. So we're saying so then we could say that the person who's creating or performing abominable acts are still conditioned and making those accident fall down is still at the lowest platform of devotee is Uttama.
Correct.
Madhyam is above that. They aren't going to be making mistakes, basically.
No. A Madhyamadhikari still can.
Yeah.
Can. But the Uttamadhikari, he's beyond the modes of nature.
So then if the Madhyamikari does perform these mistakes, do we consider, you're saying respect him in the mind.
Yeah.
Do we understand that they've maybe shifted down to Uttama?
Correct. Okay. Because this is not like a linear step, right? I'm Kanishta, next day I'm Madhyama, the next day I'm Uttama. All of us have these qualities. It's like a spectrum, right? Even if you might be there in the platform of Madhyamadhikari, you might still have Kanishta qualities in you that are still clearing, because it's there. So because of that, there might be some things. Yeah. Deepak Prabhu, Gokulananda Prabhu has been raising. Then we'll come to you. No, Gokulananda Prabhu. We'll come back to you once, Gokulananda Prabhu. Yeah.
Yeah. My small understanding is, like in Nectar of Instruction, Srila Rupa Goswami says, right? What is the qualification to be a spiritual master? Vachuvekam.
Yeah.
So all these urges, one who has controlled those urges, only that person, Prithvim Sashishyat,
yeah.
He can be a spiritual master.
Yeah.
And other magnanimous aspect of the Supreme Lord is, the verse that you spoke about, apichet sudaraja. So accidental fall down of a devotee, has to be looked upon in a very glorious way. One has to be, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes one step beyond. In the next verse, Kshipram bhavati dharmatma shashvat shantim nigati kauntya name bhakta pranashyati. So Kshipram bhavati, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, not the person who fell down, anybody who looks upon that person to be saintly, that person immediately, Kshipram, he becomes Dharmatma. Right, yes. So that is the extent to which Lord is talking about.
Yeah.
But ISKCON is an institution, right?
Yes.
We are the preaching movement. So yes, any devotee who falls down accidentally,
yes,
we have to look upon that person to be saintly.
100%.
But since we are an institute and there is management and there is administration and we are into preaching, we have to set examples for others. So
Correct.
That's why someone who has accepted that role and responsible position, little bit of one black spot in the beauty of the moon, right?
Yes.
People are going to point out to that. So from that perspective, the institutional rules and regulations, they come in the picture.
Yes.
So that's my understanding. And conversely, there is another point. I remember Sarvabhauma Prabhu, he had mentioned this beautiful point. Practicing devotional service is like climbing the steep mountain. We are all trying to climb up the steep mountain, and there are some sadhakas who have almost reached the peak. Yeah. There are some who are in the middle, and there are some who are like at the bottom. There are various levels, right? Yeah. So while climbing, we look upon someone who is slipping off, falling down. So what will happen? I will lose my focus, and I will also slip off. So instead of looking upon somebody who fell down, for example, in the sannyasi, instead of looking from Krishna's perspective, what is the relationship between that devotee and Krishna? We focus on that falling person and not having the view that Krishna is recommending here to look upon that person to be saintly. Then there is a danger for our own selves to be slipping off also.
Yes, yes.
So instead of that, we should focus on somebody who is successfully marching upwards towards the goal.
Yes. Very nice points, Gokulanand Prabhu. Deepak Prabhu?
Thank you. No, I think Prabhu already explained it. I was giving a more materialistic example of, say, a professor who's like amazing, suddenly develops, say, some disorders or idiosyncratic behavior. So he might be removed from teaching, but it doesn't discredit him from what he knows, right? So it's similar, not exactly similar, but like in corollary to that, saying the person is not discredited as an individual, but he's not fit for
correct
being a professor in the university anymore.
Correct. One point I also wanted to mention, Gokulanand Prabhu, is Rupa Goswami gives the 6 urges and says one who's conquered can make disciples all over the world. But in the Nectar of Instruction, Prabhupada also, I think in the 7th or the 8th verse, says a Madhyamadikari can also be a spiritual master. But he says you should be careful when accepting a Madhyamadikari as a spiritual master because he can only take you up to his platform. Yeah. So, anything else? Okay, we'll stop here then. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय।